What's up, ladies and gentlemen of YouTube? Boogie2988 coming at you live once again through the power of the internet. I'm with you once again with my good friend, the Grave Ghoul.
Hi, guys.
Social media links down below. We just got back from, that's right, Venom, wearing my awesome Loot Crate shirt. And by the way, big thank you to the 3 fans who asked to take pictures with me after the show. It was really, really great. So I want to do a little review here, and if you guys don't know the structure from where I reviews, I always like to do a non-spoilery section beforehand. That way, if you don't know whether or not you want to see the movie, you'll know whether or not to see the movie. I never really give like a score because I don't believe in scoring something. Like I can't tell you it's a 78. What does that mean? I don't know what that means. But here's what I will do. I'll tell you whether or not this is a movie you should see in theaters, whether it's not a movie you should wait to see at home, or whether or not you should skip it altogether. That said, let's get into the non-spoiler stuff. Overall impressions. What do you think of Venom as a movie?
I thought it was great.
I have to say somewhere between okay to very good. I went into this with a Rotten Tomatoes score of 30 or 28%. Have you seen these reviews?
It was ridiculous. It was very negative.
91% of people wanting to watch this movie. So obviously this is one of those cases where the critics and the fans aren't going to line up. I went into this movie with extreme reservations, not just because of the Rotten Tomatoes score, but because I'm an old school Spider-Man fan. Venom belongs in the Spider universe. Taking him out of that and making him his own thing is difficult, but as a comic book fan, I'm used to retconning, I'm used to alternative universes. This is just an alternative universe storytelling. And I know you said you're a bit of a Spider-Man fan too, and
Absolutely.
She knows way more about the symbiotes than I did, because as we're watching the movie, she's leaning over and she's like, oh my god, that's Riot. Oh my god, that's, you know, all these different stuff that I didn't know about the symbiotes. So that was really educational. I would say that when it comes to the casting, what did you think of Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock?
I wouldn't have pictured it before, but whenever I finally saw it, I actually really enjoyed it.
And I will say that he absolutely makes this movie. All of the scenes with Eddie Brock in it, all the Eddie Brock scenes are really good. I will say that when it comes to the structure of the movie, I feel that it could have definitely used some work. I don't know how you feel about this, but the first third, right up until Venom is introduced, is kind of slow, and
it was a very slow start.
Right, I didn't really feel anything for the characters. I kind of like dozed off.
Yeah, you're not really engaged, but you know that Venom is going to come. That's what the whole movie's about. So it keeps you kind of tuned, but you're still you're losing interest at the beginning. So.
And then I think once Venom hits the screen, everything picks up.
Smooth sailing from there.
And I don't know what's wrong with the first section of the movie as much as it is that there's just pacing issues, and there's not really much of anything of interest going on. There's a bit of a love story, but it changes very quickly. There's a little bit of building up of who Eddie Brock is and what his career is about. There's a little bit of selling up the antagonist of the film, but it all could have been done so much better. Once Venom hits the screen, though, it's pretty much a thrill ride. Now, when it comes to the CGI and graphics, wow, I'm an old man, so I normally have a problem seeing like CGI as the movie, but Venom looked,
I thought he looked awesome. I was so excited.
Like, he just straight up looked incredible. I was so surprised that the character just looked so much better than I expected it to. I will say, when it comes to the trailers, I feel like the trailers are fairly misleading as to what this movie is going to be.
Absolutely.
Because the trailers just come across as this hokey, like the original trailer, Venom looks very different than he does in the final film. The eyes change so
very
much.
Cartoony.
Right. And then the whole, if you've seen the trailers, no spoilers here, but if you've seen the trailers, there's a scene that takes place in a convenience store, and that makes the movie feel like it's going to be just kind of hokey and goofy and like Pixels, or one of these awful Sony films. It definitely wasn't that. I feel like the people who wrote the script and who made this movie have a love affair with Venom. I don't think it was fully realized, though. So that said, should you see this movie in the theaters? The action is good. I had trouble following the action. What do you think of the action scenes overall?
I thought they were incredible, honestly.
Like, some of the symbiote stuff is very, very good. I think sometimes I'm an old man once again. All this quick edit stuff is very difficult for me to follow. I grew up on Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee, like, zero cut scenes, right? One of my favorite scenes in the Marvel universe altogether is the Daredevil's episode 2 scene, where it's like the long fight in the hallway. You've seen the Daredevil Netflix, right? Like the huge long fight in the hallway. This is very cutty and choppy in places. Still a lot of fun. Do you need to see it in the theater, or do you think you can wait till it gets home?
Personally, I enjoyed it in theaters, but I think it could have been something that could have waited.
Right, and that's the thing. There's no big spoiler here. Even if you get told exactly what happens in this movie, it's really not going to change anything. It's not like, it's not like Red Bud. It's not like a Rosebud. It's not like, there's nothing that's going to ruin this movie. So you don't have to rush out and see it opening weekend. I do think seeing it at home is a very, very good option if you're a Marvel fan. And you're not offended by the fact that Spider-Man has nothing to do with this. If you're not offended by the fact that this is an alternative universe retelling, which I kind of was, I still really enjoyed the movie. So breaking into the actual meat of the film, can we talk about the post-credit scene?
We need to make sure. Okay, guys, if you haven't
spoilers.
seen the movie,
This is spoilers. Absolute spoiler section. This is we're going to ruin everything for you.
Leave, go away.
Pause this video, go to the theater, watch the film, come back, rewatch the second half of this video. Okay, I would really appreciate it if you do that, or just go see it.
Then we should wait till we get to the end because there's so much.
All right, so we'll save the trailer bit. So overall in the movie, you've got several symbiotes landing on Earth. You have like this Lex Luthor-style character who's interested in getting humans off of the planet because the planet is dying. He finds the symbiotes. The symbiotes come back to Earth, and then the symbiotes hatch a plan to go out to go out into space, steal his rocket, bring the symbiotes back, and I guess eat our planet.
Yep.
And then do whatever they're going to do to it. I mean, it's an okay plot.
I enjoy it, but I mean, whenever I realized that they were bringing back more than just Venom, I was on the edge of my seat because I mean, if you've read like the original comics. And you know about like the Clentar, like
I know nothing
the
about
symbiotes.
this stuff, so.
That's what I was expecting. There was I guess we already did the whole spoiler thing. A time where he locks one of these doctors in the room with a symbiote, and I was expecting it to be Scream. And like the whole time, there's like a little girl. It was sorry.
No, you're fine.
But
that one was
symbiote
Riot.
That was Riot, yeah. That a symbiote had inhabited, and it was the only one that they couldn't find at the beginning.
Right.
And I kept expecting it to be Venom, and there finally came a time where Venom inhabits Brock, and then you realize, oh shit, if that symbiote that's on the loose isn't Venom,
it's got to be somebody.
Who is it?
And it's all at that point it only inhabited females. So you were
Yep.
thinking Scream because she tends to inhabit females.
Mm-hmm.
I guess not. I shouldn't say he or she because I guess the symbiotes have no sex, right? But it ended up being Riot, and I guess there were several other on the play, but probably unnamed ones since a lot of them died off in the process.
There was going to be a sequel,
right?
First off, guys,
right?
So
and I mean, heavily. I hope it does well enough for a sequel. I have to go right into that post-credit scene. I don't care. Yeah. Woody Harrelson as Carnage. I don't know what to make of that. Woody Harrelson's an old man. He's like in his 50s now.
So good. Okay.
But I always remember Carnage being a young serial killer, right? Wasn't he?
Still though, no, he was. It was just terrifying because he was a serial killer. It was gruesome, and if you remember how Carnage looks, he's like fucking 9 feet tall and crazy ass teeth. So
right.
It was terrifying to know that. I mean, Venom inhabits Eddie Brock, reporter.
Right.
And I mean.
And because Eddie Brock is a relatively good person, especially in this movie, then Venom learns to love us a little bit, which I think is one of my biggest sticking points. Don't let me forget to talk about that.
I gotta go back to that too.
Right.
But at the end, it shows Eddie Brock talking to like a prison guard, and he's like walking into a cell, and they refer to the prisoner as Red, and that's when you're like, oh shit, like if that was Riot earlier, this has got to be Carnage.
And you see the big shock of red hair, and then it turns around as Woody Harrelson, and I can't get over. I love Woody Harrelson, so I'm so happy about that. But so that's
it's an
definitely
odd fit, but I'm excited.
What was he writing in blood?
I don't even remember. I was just so excited.
Right.
Because I was about to leave the theater. I mean, never leave the theater. Like
without the post credits, right. Especially any Marvel thing.
Mm-hmm. And I couldn't even pay attention. I was so excited. I was like slapping Boogie. I'm like, it's Carnage! It's
Carnage! The worst part of this movie, easily, to me, and I think it's a sticking point, hopefully for most people who watch it, I think she agreed, I think most of my friends agreed, Venom goes from, I love to eat faces and I love to eat people, to seeing the skylight at some point and saying, this planet is beautiful, it's sad we have to destroy it, and then decides he doesn't want to destroy it. Now, I felt there was no real build-up for it, but if you look, the pieces are there. His biggest argument was that he was a loser on his planet like Eddie, and he kind of liked being a superhero or super creature on this planet. I didn't pick up on that until she pointed it out, but Riot is twice his size, 4 times as powerful, can do so much more.
See, so at first I feel like Venom's intentions were very selfish. I mean, if you know any of them, like, Venom is a villain. But then you kind of see that Eddie needs Venom as much as Venom needs Eddie. There comes a time where Riot just rips him straight out of Eddie, and he's about to eat him. And Eddie, like, reaches, and he's like, get back in me, you know. And,
get in my belly.
Get in my belly.
Right.
But he, like, saves him. And then there's a time where Eddie Brock gets fucking impaled by Riot and left to die, and here comes Venom's little symbiote crawling back to you know, make things right.
How did it set with you when he's diving off of the spaceship and then Venom sacrifices himself to save Eddie Brock?
Oh my gosh.
I was like, obviously it's a comic book. Obviously they want to set it up for sequels, so I didn't know if they were going to end the movie with you wondering whether or not he was still alive or whether or not they would show that he was still alive. They ended up showing he's still alive. I think the ending of that movie is probably the best part.
I thought it was awesome.
What about the kiss? That was the most romantic kiss
of
of all time.
I wish we could show a clip of that.
Right. Yeah. Pretend there's a clip of it right now, because we're in spoiler section, so you should have seen this movie. But Venom ends up inhabiting Annie is her name, I believe, and then she ends up going from a dog to Annie. I wish they had shown that. There's so much in this movie that I wish they had shown. A lot of the reviewers said that this felt like a turd in the wind. They felt like an armless, legless thing, to quote the movie. I kind of see that criticism because it didn't have the flow of the recent Thor movies. It doesn't have the flow of Spider-Man Homecoming, which I think is probably the most important thing to compare it to. But I feel like there's a lot of really good pieces there, and I want there to be a sequel because I think they'll really pick it up. I think Eddie Brock is an incredible character. I think it was played exceptionally well. I like the love story between him and Annie. I love the fact that Venom is in love with Annie too, so that's really smart. The Stan Lee cameo.
Love it. It's always a Stanley cameo.
What did he say? I don't even remember. There wasn't an don't give up on her, either of you.
Oh yeah.
Right. So Stan Lee, obviously God in this universe.
There becomes a moment where Annie like rescues Eddie.
Right.
And he's like talking to himself while talking to Venom, and he's like, "Oh my God, like don't eat her, like this is dangerous, like you shouldn't have me in the car." And Venom's like, "Ooh, I like her. Let's go with her."
Right.
And like mostly he's just like, "Can I eat him?"
And I feel like since Venom's been inside of her, he knows how much she loves him. So there's I wish they talked about that a little bit. Yeah. Right. I wish they'd shown that, but again, I think it all comes down to the team that was handed the script did a great job. I think the script had really good parts. I think it just has some big holes in it. Like, I wish it ran 20 minutes longer to fill in those holes. I really wish that we showed not just Venom knowing that he's like a superhero on this planet, right? But enjoying the food, enjoying the city, enjoying Eddie's life, enjoying...
something that he would want to stay on Earth
Right. Give me that motivation. Because I think the big difference between the Sony pictures that deal with Marvel and the Marvel movies that deal with Marvel, I always feel so connected to the characters. Guardians of the Galaxy, even Thanos, and not so much Ultron, but the entire Avengers set. Black Panther, for what, like it or love it, I even felt I felt the power between the villain and the main character. Absolutely. Right. It's hard to get emotionally connected to any of the Sony pictures. The Amazing Spider-Man, I couldn't feel it. I definitely couldn't feel that emotional connection here, and I really wish that's the thing that's missing from this movie. I think is heart. It's a great action flick. It's a lot of fun to watch. It's the best Venom movie we'll get probably for a really long time, as long as Sony owns the property. And you have to accept the fact that it's in an alternative universe. But if you're willing to accept that, it's a really fun movie. Is it the Venom movie we always wanted? What about you? Is it the Venom movie you always wanted?
No, but I did enjoy it nonetheless.
Right. It's a nice little throwaway movie. Maybe one day we'll get Venom versus Spider-Man. I mean, Sony does still technically own Spider-Man. They just loaned it to Disney. Maybe Venom will show up in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in its more true form. But this is good enough for now. I think you definitely should probably watch it, at least at home. And honestly, the surround sound was good enough to where maybe we should have seen it in IMAX. But I am glad I saw it. Are you glad you saw it?
Definitely glad I saw it.
And it's our first Marvel movie together. It was kind of fun hanging out and watching that. Sammy was miserable while we were gone. I got to say, again, thanks to the fans who came out and said hello. I got to take 3 photos with you guys after that. It was a lot of fun. If you did see the movie, or if you enjoyed this movie review, do me a favor. Drop a like on this video while you're down there in the comment section. Let me know if you're excited to see Venom. Let me know if it's a skipper for you. Let me know what your problem is with the movie. If you have seen it, let people below know whether or not it's worth seeing. And if you want to see more content like this, hit subscribe. And while you're down there, you can check out the Grave Ghoul in the description box below. She's on Instagram. She's on Twitter. She'll be everywhere at some point, I'm pretty sure. So guys, as always, thanks for watching. I love you very much, and I'll speak with you again soon.
Bye, guys.
Bye.